Buffy Sainte-Marie, I'm pleased to say, is here with me now. Hi.
It's good to see you, Shad.
Good to see you too.
Thanks.
There's a real passion with this record. There's a hunger to tell the truth. There's a message of encouragement. Where did the drive come from this time around?
I think it just comes from my life. And, I'm one of those people who's lucky enough to have show business airplane tickets, so I'm kind of global. And although I don't live in any one community, I live in the mountains in a remote island in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And, I think not only does my life away from show business and traveling inform my music, but also just the idea of being global and being able to see how much we have in common. For instance, marginalized people all over the world have the similar problems because of colonialism, and so do non-Indigenous people too, are finding out, what we have been going through for many, many years. Everybody's starting to go through that now.
What an interesting awakening, eh?
It is. It's a very interesting awakening. And I think even if you have a song like Power in the Blood that's listing contemporary problems that I face every day, because where I live, they are spraying GMO pesticides all over us. And, that's another whole long story. Or actually going yourself to Fort McMurray and seeing the tar sands. It informs your music. And in a way, that seems kind of negative, to be witnessing some of the challenges of today. But on the other hand, how positive is it that you and I can be here today talking to a lot of people who are also waking up? And in my view, everybody's always waking up. We never get there. The future's right now, and we're ripening every minute. All of us, even the guys that we think are the bad guys, they too are evolving. So to me, the whole idea is about being willing to mutate in a good way, and recognizing in other people that each of us is evolving, ripening, growing in our own way. I think that's very good news.
That's a hard thing to do, isn't it, for people that work towards change to remember that we're all evolving?
Yeah.
And not to, we have to point the finger, but not to point it too harshly. As you said, even the bad guys are learning.
Exactly, yeah.
And are changing.
Yeah, and another thing that we all share, in the modern world is that, racketeers have been around since before the Old Testament. There's always going to be racketeers around. I have a song from an earlier album, Running for the Drum, called No No Keshagesh. And Keshagesh is a Cree word, and it actually means greedy guts. And I wrote it that was a name that we had for a little puppy who used to eat all his own, and then he wanted everybody else's, right? And that song's about environmental greed. So there's always going to be people who want more than their share until they learn better, right?
Yeah.
So I think that no matter how far society evolves, there's always going to be younger brothers and sisters who don't yet understand that there's enough to go around for everybody if we're not greedy. The way I look at it is none of us are very far evolved. I think of us all as maybe second graders, and we all look down our nose at those first graders who spill their milk. And they look down their noses at kindergarten kids who wet their pants, right?
Yeah.
So if we can all realize that we're all growing, we all were kindergarten kids, we all were nursery kids, and, it's little by little every day.
I love that you call them your younger brothers and sisters. That's beautiful. You said something really interesting, too, about being away from show business. Mm-hmm. How important is that to finding the drive to make an album like this one?
Well, for me, I just got very lucky in my 20s. All of a sudden, I was rich and famous. And I went and lived in Hawaii to hide from show business, really, to have some anonymity, which I really treasured. And I made a whole lot of albums, and I realized that record companies wanted me sometimes to just come up with something. And I wanted to write things that I really believed in that were informed by the reality of my world. To me, songs are kind of like snapshots, right? Yep. Snapshots of all different kinds of stuff, and then you give them to people. But then I took 15 years off after Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I took 15 years off to raise my son. So I did. I pulled back from show business, not because I thought I should, but because I could. And it's been very good for me. I think it's kept me healthy and happy to travel and eager to be with people. Whereas if I were in it day after day after day like a drag, it wouldn't be playful anymore. And for me, music is about play. It's not about work. It's about play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So protecting that prerogative to be playful and that ability to be playful.
Yeah, and being with other people and encouraging that with other people. There's a song in this new album called We Are Circling that says, keep on playing. Keep on praying, but also keep on playing. Play, I think, is so underestimated in our world. We stop playing as soon as we start going to school. The little kids who have been playing at drawing and painting and sculpture and dance and music and using their imaginations and making drama, any little kid at the beach will do that.
Yeah.
As soon as they go to school, all of a sudden that gets all covered up and they start working. And I think that's a mistake. I think we need to stay playful. And I don't mean lessons playful. We need to be encouraging kids and adults to take time off themselves just to play naturally the way you do on Sunday when there's nobody around and there's nothing to do, Maybe you just sleep, maybe you just dream. Very, very important, I think. Really refreshing.
It's a difficult value to teach these days. It's not one we have in our society, right? We think work is serious, play is frivolous.
Oh, yeah, unless it's making you money.
Exactly.
Right. No, it's not like that. No. It ain't money that makes the world go round. It's only temporary confusion. It ain't governments that make the people strong. It's the opposite illusion. Look right now and you see they're only here by the skin of their teeth as it is. So take heart and take care of your link with life.
That's from the last track on this album.
Carry It On, yeah.
Carry It On. Very positive song, as I was telling you beforehand. Was there a time where you felt less hopeful?
It's not was there a time, it's are there days or are there hours? Oh, yeah, when I see new challenges coming up, I say, oh, God, what next, No, I get like that too, but I'm very lucky in that I'm healthy. I'm also a teetotaler, I don't drink, so I don't have to deal with hangovers and that loss of energy. I'm real active. I do ballet and flamenco, and I run around with a rock and roll band, so I have an interesting perspective in that way, and I think part of... I really don't believe in burning out. I found out in my 20s, just through working with the American Indian movement and really trying to be effective as opposed to just make a lot of noise, because they're two different things. In being effective, you take care of yourself, you pull back, and it becomes very important to share with other people. Don't burn out. You don't do anybody a favor by running in place and just getting tired and burning out. So you have to have the courage to pull back sometimes from your peers when they want to go out and they've got more energy than you do. No, stay home. Dream a little dream. Think some thoughts. Use your brain. Use your heart. Check in with yourself. See how you're feeling. See how you're doing. It's very nice, I think, to be able to take care of yourself your whole life long. Yeah. And to arrive at like this point in my life, I'm 74. You know what? I felt the same my whole life. As soon as I became a grown-up, I started feeling good. I feel great all the time. I have moments when what you suggested happens, but they are moments for me. Yeah. I don't go into months of depression, and I think it's because I do know when I'm kind of out of gas and need to reboot myself. And I take pleasure in that.
I think that's especially difficult, as you sort of alluded to, for people that are doing good work, right? They really burn out doing that good work, making a lot of noise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for those people? It's hard for them to pull away, right? Because they're saying, people need me, or I'm doing something positive. And
Well, I think it was St. Francis who said, you got to take care of Brother Mule. And Brother Mule is your body. It's taking care of yourself. Yeah. You really have to do that. It's just one of the skills of being effective. And a lot of people who are champions of something, they get a job. That means they have to be champions 24 hours a day, 8 days a week. Yeah, and it gets to be too much. So you just have to know yourself. Every now and then you have to have a long bath and a very long nap. You just got to do that for yourself. Or you're not going to be as effective as you're getting paid to be. If it's your job.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be, if it's just your passion.
I want to talk a little bit more about this album in particular. You got a range of sounds, electronic sounds, more lyrical sounds, but they all share space really comfortably. How are you thinking about this album when you were putting it together?
Okay, so I made Running for the Drum maybe, 6 or 7 years ago, I guess. It's another album, yep. And I put together a band at the time, and I said, we're going on a world tour for 2 years, and this is like year 6. So all that time being on tour, I'd be doing new songs that have appeared on this album, or I'd be playing with songs, or I'd be doing songs that never had an audience, never got heard because they were never played. Because I had a period where it was very dark for me in terms of radio play, where for years I was not played on the radio. And
blacklisted in the States.
Yes, in the States, yes. So I'm told, yeah. And I didn't believe that at the beginning, but I did get my FBI files, and I see that's the way things are done. And by the way, sometimes people will say, well, doesn't that just tick you off at the United States government? No, it wasn't the government. No, a bunch of boys get elected. They do whatever they want to do for 4 years, and then they're gone, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not as though an act of Congress comes down on Buffy. No. A couple of guys make nasty phone calls from the back room. That's the way it's done, right?
Couple of little brothers and sisters.
It's a couple of guys who in their network are doing their mischief, and but in show business they hold you underwater for 4 minutes and you're gone for a very long time. You do not recover that kind of connection with an audience when you're cut off. And so when I found out about all that, in the first place I didn't believe it. When I found out that some kind of something was going on, I just kept keeping on for the same reasons that I had gotten into music in the first place, because I love the music, because my life informs me in ways that I like to share with other people, and I just get off on it. It's so it stayed very pure for me, and that's good for me.
Another thing I love about this time we're living in is some of the most innovative and compelling new sounds out there right now are coming from Indigenous artists. I'm thinking about Tanya Tagaq.
Yes.
I'm thinking about A Tribe Called Red.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to see that happening?
Oh, it's a dream come true. This is the kind of stuff that we meant when whether we're thinking about when we established the Music of Aboriginal Canada category for the Junos in the 90s. One of the things that Elaine Bombery, Shingoose, and I went into Caris, who are the Junos, right?
Yeah.
And the argument that I made was that Native music right now is kind of like Black music was in the 30s and 40s, when the rest of the ears in the world were discovering that, not only is it good, but it's multi-genre.
Yeah.
And it relates to what's already going on. And this was a surprise for a lot of people in the 30s and 40s to discover Black music, and in the 90s to discover Indigenous music. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, there are always those racketeers who are going to just turn everything into money, right? Turn the whole world into pocket change. And after we did establish that category, which we didn't get because we deserved it, it wasn't like that. Mm. We got that category because we had the numbers. Because you have to have the numbers in order to have a category. There were producers, studios, artists, musicians, writers, etc., already working in the music business. So to see Tribe Called Red and Tanya, especially, they've had such just such a beautiful spotlight right now. It's similar in a way, and it's a dream come true for me to see. I mean, there have been Indigenous artists all these years, but we couldn't get anywhere because there just wasn't any background. There wasn't any. It just wasn't happening in the marketplace. There just didn't seem to be a place where we fit. But with so many artists coming into their own now, it's really sweet to see. And it goes beyond just Tanya and Tribe Called Red, by the way. There are a lot of artists in every community, whether it's folk music, whether it's powwow music, whether it's traditional music, rock, jazz, dance. I mean, there's all kinds of musicians out there in the world from every background. Yeah. And that's very good news for everybody, I think.
And the connection globally, too.
Absolutely.
So inspiring to see.
Oh, yeah. I don't know whether you go to any Indigenous or world music festivals, but there are Indigenous people in Scandinavia. Sami people are making great music of all kinds of genres. The Maoris in New Zealand, people in Aboriginal people in Australia, where we just came from. Mm-hmm. All over the place, people are making music. And it seems, partly because of the internet, that people are welcoming new kinds of music that have been out there for a long time, but now they have an audience of peers. And that's always good.
How do you see yourself at this point in your career fitting with that exciting new movement? A dream come true, as you said.
Yeah, it is, because I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, last year I did a whole bunch of concerts. The year before I did a whole bunch of concerts. The year before that I did a whole bunch of concerts. But the concerts that I'm doing now, because of this album, Power in the Blood, and because of the help that we're getting from True North Records in getting the word out, and, even talking to you today, it does make a difference. And I think it makes a difference for a lot of people. Not only because of what the songs are about, but specifically Indigenous people who are, for instance, you don't know their names, but they're the ones showing up for Idle No More. They're spotlighting issues within their own community, and by the way, informing you who otherwise wouldn't know about it. So it's kind of a thing that everybody does together. Grassroots people do it together. You do it here in your show. Last year you were doing something else. Yeah. Last year nobody was hearing about me except people coming to my concerts. This year they are. So things keep changing. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty good. You ought to be too. You're awesome.
I feel great. It's an inspiring time.
Oh, yes, it is. It's an inspiring time.
This question, actually, full disclosure, comes from Ian from A Tribe Called Red.
Yay! Okay. My bro.
You were a force in the Indigenous rights movements going back to the 60s, and that was a time of connection with other civil rights efforts.
Kinda.
Kind of.
Only kinda. But keep going.
Tell me about that connection. I'm curious about that. I think a lot of people are curious about the history of movements being connected in terms of civil rights.
Well, we were certainly connected in terms of all being colonialized by the same bunch of racketeers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who was marginalized.
Absolutely.
I was spending time with Stokely Carmichael, Muhammad Ali, Harry Belafonte, Nina Simone. I mean, I was spending time with other musicians, and I'll consider Muhammad Ali a musician just because he
was maybe the first rapper, actually.
Oh, he was, yeah. And he was just such an everything person, He was wonderful to me. Well, that's another long conversation. Anyway, so I was connected with individuals, but you never saw me at the civil rights rallies. You never saw me at the photo ops for the anti-war rallies, because I didn't think I was going to last. I thought I was going to have one short shot at informing people through my writing. I didn't know that I would have any kind of success as a singer or recording artist. But what I wanted to do, I mean, I wasn't singing like Joan Baez or Judy Collins or any of those other singers. Yeah. I was singing like myself because I thought I was only going to get one shot. I wasn't going to worry about that too much. And what I really wanted to give audiences was something unique and original, and I wanted to cover the base that nobody else was covering. I mean, somebody's already doing that. Why would you do that? They had enough people in the civil rights rallies. They didn't need me. So I was out at the reservations begging for somebody to help. You know who helped? Dick Gregory, Muhammad Ali, Marlon Brando. So there were a lot of things going on in the American Indian movement which were particularly masculine. It was a very masculine movement for quite a long time. Idle No More also addresses very important social issues in some ways that are similar to the American Indian movement. And the American Indian movement, the men in the American Indian movement were kind of ex-cons who were trying to inform Aboriginal people in the streets that they had rights, that if a policeman came and arrested them, they didn't have to go. They had some rights, but nobody knew. So AIM started out with that as their aim. Idle No More is a lot more feminine. It's really dedicated to more contemporary issues, not only the terrible bill that came down that threatens the indigenous people, but also threatens the entire environment. So Idle No More is a wonderful movement, and it's a genuine grassroots movement. There's not like a president and a vice president. It's not a corporation.
Yeah.
It's whoever shows up, and a lot of people show up. And what they're dealing with and what they're spotlighting is a bunch of things that have been going on for a long time. That's why we're so good at letting people know what it's about, because we've been dealing with it forever. It's not like the Occupy movement where a bunch of people show up and then it kind of goes silent again. No, we've been dealing with these issues for a long time. And in coming together and dealing with them, with other people and with our peers locally, it makes an impact.
And they're issues, interestingly, that impact a lot of people too.
Yes, they do.
You know?
And if I can just mention, one of the things that we're trying to deal with in Idle No More, and I think just throughout grassroots Indian country, is missing and murdered Indigenous women, which is a much bigger issue. Missing and murdered women everywhere. I mean, what is going on, boys? Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to wake up, you got to grow up, you got to stop doing that. I mean, just murder in the world, whether it's professional murder and rackets, whether it's professional murder in the army, or whether it's local tragedies. You know, it's so out of control. It's going to take a lot of people working on this issue, because it's a very, very deep thing. It has to do with how we raise our sons, what we praise people for, and goddamn alcohol, you know, ruining people's lives, people running around with hangovers and broken lives. With Aboriginal people, whether you're thinking about missing and murdered Indigenous women or something else, we're dealing with the fact that many, many people who are trying to raise children today didn't have any parents. They were raised in residential schools. You know, their role models were bullying nuns and pedophile priests, and that's not the way to be. And we all know that now. And Canada is addressing it. Soon we're going to have a Truth and Reconciliation on June 3rd in Ottawa. We're doing a concert. A lot of people have worked very hard on finding out the real facts of what was going on with the residential schools, which were a horror. How many people know that little Indian children were put in electric chairs, to torture them into something or other? I mean, it's really it's much worse than most people realize.
And the education is still not there.
It's not there. But the good news is that it can be there, because now there's a mandate in every province for colleges to be turning out teachers who know how to teach, to teach about Native cultures, for whether Aboriginal teachers or non-Aboriginal teachers. Teachers have to know how to deal with local issues, and it's very special. It's very wonderful. I mean, Indigenous things, our survival values, our culture, our music, let alone our problems, which need to be fixed. It's all good. And it's a pleasure to be involved with Indigenous people in education. Sometimes it's a tragedy and you cry, but that's what tears are for, They go away after a while, and you wake up and you know something new. You know how your own heart feels about things.
And you've been involved with those educational efforts for a long time.
For a long time, yes. I ran the Cradleboy teaching project, which we're not doing at the moment as a classroom project, but I am working with a lot of colleges in teaching teacher education departments how to write proper core curriculum, like science, through a Native perspective. And that's quite an interesting little trick. A lot of people said, oh, Indians didn't have science. The Greeks invented science. No, they didn't. No, anybody who survived had science.
Yeah.
They observed. They taught each other. They found out what was real. If when the berries are getting ripe, something else is going to follow. But if you see a picture of a rabbit in the clouds in the sky, that predicts nothing. So Indigenous people all over the world had science. So in working with different universities across Canada, and just having the pleasure of working with teachers of teachers, we're hoping to not only to have universities get smarter and better versed at writing, well, in my case, interactive multimedia curriculum that kids can use and enjoy and operate themselves. How empowering, that's multisensory learning. But to be teaching Indigenous learners or non-Indigenous people about science through Aboriginal perspectives, geography through Indigenous perspectives, history, of course. That's the one they think that we always want to teach, and it's usually taught wrong. Usually all they teach in colleges is the history of how the white man screwed the Indian. So it's all about lawyers and laws. No, there's a lot more to us than what has been left out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to do, but it's good work, and it's exciting. And there are a lot of people willing and able to do it. Idle No More was started by a handful of women, several of them PhD women. And they didn't go to sleep. They're still around, and they're really inspiring people. And the people that they have inspired are inspiring other people. So, we can do this as human beings. We can do this. It's gotten better. It's better than, think back, 50 years? Think back 100 years? Think back 150 years. They say you'll never do it, You'll never put an end to war. You'll never overcome, racism. But, they said there'll never be an end to slavery.
Yeah.
People will never stop smoking, Women will never get the vote. All of that is just, that's
illusion,
hooey.
as you put it in your song.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the educational piece, so transformational.
Yes, yeah. It is. It is, but we educate each other all the time. And how nice is that? Look at your show. Look at the people that you talk to and that you meet. I watch. I've seen what you do.
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing. There's some really great minds out there in the streets that are never going to be on television. So let's encourage them. I think that every single person is unique. And yet we're not encouraged to seek out the uniqueness in each other. We're all afraid to mutate. I think we're supposed to be like the guy next door. He'll get mad. Yeah. No, he won't. He might be inspired and want to come over.
Before I let you go, Buffy, I want to return to your new record one more time. What would you most like people to get from the experience of listening to you now in 2015?
Oh, I want them to rock out to Not the Lovin' Kind. It's a song that I wrote, and it only has 2 chords, but it says it all. It's about how to say goodbye to a jerk. You can be a little pissed off, but you know what? It's a big smile.
We're going to go out on that song, but first I want to just share something from your CD insert that I really liked. You wrote, what's remained consistent is my conclusion, which has always inspired my songs, that life is precious, diverse, and worth protecting. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Shad. Thank you, too.